Perek Yud Zayin, Mishnah Zayin. This Mishnah is going to discuss the concept of ohel. Now, just by way of introduction, we know that if a person makes an ohel kavua, which means a permanent ohel, a permanent tent structure, then he's going to be chayiv on Shabbos under the melacha of boneh, under the issa deraisa of boneh. But that is only true for an ohel kavua. For an ohel arai, for a temporary ohel, for a temporary tent, let's call it, then a person would only be osa midrabanan. A person would only be over a derabon, not a deraisa. So ohel kavua is osa min Torah, but ohel arai is osa midrabanan. As to the definitions of ohel, there is an important machlokus Rashi and Tosfos. Rashi says that an ohel is really essentially the gag. When you're making a roof, that is really the issa of ohel. Tosfos learns that it's also making a halachic fence, a halachic boundary. And either, for example, adding a third wall to a sukkah, or making some sort of partition where you're surrounded that you can carry inside it, if it has a halachic function, then that would be ohel according to Tosfos. But either way, min haTorah, ohel kavua, permanent ohel is asa, and midrabanan and ohel arai is asa. Now our Mishnah is going to be discussing the concept of being moisif al inyan an ohel arai, whether you can add to an ohel arai. So we're talking about adding to an issa d'rabbanan of ohel arai, and the Chachomim say that there's no problem. There's no issa to be moisif to an ohel arai. So for example, in practical terms, if you have, let's say, a roof to a buggy, to a kid's pram, if it's open a little bit, more than a tefach, let's say, to extend it, to open it a bit more, even though you're perhaps making some sort of ohel, so long as it was open a little bit, at least a tefach, to be moisif on that, the Chachom say no problem. Rabbi Eliezer would say no. He says that being moisif al inyan an ohel arai, being moisif al ohel arai is a problem, and therefore he disallows it. And that's really the subject of this Mishnah. So, says the Mishnah, pekak hachalon. A pekak hachalon is a sort of a window shutter. The Bartanura says that you use either a board or some sort of curtain to stop up the window. Imagine in those days they'd have an opening in the house, and they didn't have windows, but rather they would have a board or a curtain or something which they would just basically slot into that shape, and that would close the window, as it were. So pekak hachalon, a window shutter. Rabbi Eliezer says, Bizman shehu kosher v'tolui poikin boy. So long as it is kosher, i.e. it is hanging, suspended, connected, v'tolui, and hanging and not dragging on the ground, then you can be poikik, then you can stop up the window. V'im lav ein poikin boy. But if not, then you cannot. This means as follows. Imagine you've got a window opening over there, and you've got a board. So Rabbi Eliezer would say, for you to use this board on Shabbos, you have to fulfill two conditions. Number one, it has to be tolu, which means, imagine it's suspended from the ceiling, and it's connected by a rope from the ceiling, so the board is hanging there. That's number one, it's connected, it's kosher. And number two, it's tolui, which means it's suspended, it's not dragging on the ground. So long as it's kosher, it's connected, and tolui, and it's not dragging on the ground, you're able to take it and to slot it into the window, it's not a problem. Why? Because in that situation, when it's kosher and tolui, it's connected and not dragging on the ground, it's clear that it's part of the binyan. And therefore you're not being moisif anything, you're not adding to something, you're just moving something which is part of the building into the slot, and therefore it's okay. V'im lav, but if it's not kosher, if it's not tolui, then ein poikin boy, because it looks like you're being moisif to the binyan, and being moisif even to an ohel arai, because you're not leaving it there forever, it's only a temporary boarding up. Nonetheless, Rabbi Eliezer holds moisif al inyan al ohel arai is osa. And that's in the Bartanura. The Bartanura says, pekak hachalon, could go luach or mosach, a board or a curtain, or shakal davo, any other thing, shesoisim b'achalon, which you stop up the window, v'tolui, it's suspended, she'ena nigra ba'aretz, it's not sort of dragging on the ground, then you can use it. V'im lav, but if it's not kosher v'tolui, then ein poikin boy. She'em nigra al gabe karka, if it's dragging on the ground, k'shel shoym de'me'al ha'aretz, when you lift it up from the ground, liston boy, to put it in the window, mechzi k'moisif ala binyan. It looks like you're adding on to the binyan. V'sover Rabbi Eliezer ein moisifin al ohel arai b'Shabbos. Rabbi Eliezer is of the opinion that you're not allowed to add on to an ohel arai on Shabbos. It concludes the Mishnah. V'chachomim oimrim bein kach u'bein kach poikin boy. Says the Bartanura, bein kosher, bein ein kosher. Whether it's connected or not doesn't matter. Poikin boy, you're allowed to stop up the window with this luach, with this board. Since it was designated as a board for this purpose before Shabbos, therefore it's not muktzah. To Sovereign Rabbanon, the Rabbanon hold you're allowed to add on to an Ohel Arai on Shabbos, a temporary Ohel on Shabbos. And the halach is indeed like the Chachomim. That is the end of Mishnah Zayin.